Senator Bernie Sanders got a little bit sarcastic on CBS's Face the Nation on Sunday. Now, this exchange happened when Margaret Brennan, who was the host, asked him about Donald Trump's near attack on the country of Iran. Let's take a look.
Was President Trump's decision this week to call off that strike the right one?
See, it's like somebody setting a fire to a basket full of paper and then putting it out. He helped create the crisis, and then he stopped the attacks. The idea that we're looking at a president of the United States who, number one, thinks that a war with Iran is something that might be good for this country.
He was just doing a limited strike.
Oh, just a limited strike. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I just didn't know that it's okay to simply attack another country with bombs, just a limited strike. That's an act of warfare.
Sarcastic Bernie is the best Bernie. I love it. Oh, I'm sorry. Limited strike. Now, understand, he's not going after Margaret Brennan. No, he's going after the ridiculous idea of a limited strike. I mean, what's a limited strike anyway? You expect to bomb another country, but limited, right? A limited bombing of some of their infrastructure. And you expect them, what, to not strike back? Well, what happens if they do strike back? Your limited strike just becomes a lot less limited. Because if they strike back, well, then you have to retaliate. And it continues to escalate until you have a full-blown war. This idea of, oh, no, we're just going to do a limited strike here and there is ridiculous, absurd. But there is, of course, more from Senator Sanders. And a lot of it is, of course, him going after Donald Trump and then getting asked what he plans to do if he becomes president. Take a look.
When you said it was President Trump's fault that this situation evolved, don't you hold Iran responsible?
Yes, I do too. But what Trump has said, he said during his campaign, Trump has been extraordinarily antagonistic with Iran. Whether or not he wants to bring down their government, I don't know. I think people like John Bolton may very well want to do that. Trump is the person, you remember, who withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal. So he has been, without any, I don't think anyone disagrees, extraordinarily provocative toward Iran and loving the dictatorship in Saudi Arabia. That's not the role that we should be playing.
How would President Sanders resolve this?
I'll tell you how we would. Look, this is a tough issue, and I'm not saying anyone can easily resolve it, but this is what I would say. I would say to Iran, I would say to Saudi Arabia, I would say to Israel, I would say to the other countries in that region, you know what? You have been at war in one way or another for decade after decade after decade. And by the way, your wars have not only impacted your own people, they have impacted the United States to the tune of trillions of dollars and 5,000 lost lives. We will play a role in bringing you together. And if you need economic aid, we will provide the economic aid. We will provide the resources. But we're not simply going to give more and more weaponry to Saudi Arabia, to Israel. We're going to try to bring people together for what I admit, Margaret, I admit it, will not be easy. But that's what the role of, I think, the U.S. should be, not simply to be part of the Saudi war efforts in the region.
I love that old man. All right, so look, Senator Sanders, he's come a long way in his foreign policy. I admit before it was not great, especially during 2016. But now he is very, very clear. Look, I want peace. I want to bring people together in the Middle East, right? So that we don't have people attacking each other, so that we don't end up having a war. Now, earlier, in a part of the video that was not, that I did not show, he was asked, okay, well, here's the thing. So what if, like, you're saying that you can't use military action at all, the president can? And Sanders says, look, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there are certain emergency situations where we can use presidential power for conflict. For example, if we were directly attacked, then we would need to respond. Other than that, no, it's up to Congress. And we shouldn't be having the president have all this power to go to war, which I believe is the correct answer yes, the president should be able to respond immediately from being attacked. But as far as anything else, declaring war, you've got to leave that to Congress because that is constitutional. Unfortunately, during the Obama administration and during the Bush administration, and really the Bush administration is sort of the cause to this, we have seen the massive expansion of presidential power as it comes to war. I mean, the president right now is able to use drones to execute American citizens overseas. And that's an insane power that I'm pretty sure the founders, if they had even ever heard of what a drone is, and by the way, I'm not even convinced that Donald Trump knows what a drone actually is. Oh, it's not a manned drone. Yeah, okay. But it's a power that they never gave the president that much unilateral power to declare war. Why? Because there would be people that would, of course, abuse that power and to get us into tons of ridiculous wars. That is not the correct way to go. Now, so Sanders, of course, is right. Now, as far as, of course, our goal, yes, we should get these countries to start actually trying to get along or talk or whatever. And, of course, it's going to be difficult, right? But, yes, we should at least try to be a positive force in the Middle East instead of right now what we're being is a negative force. The force that just comes in, bombs the crap out of everything, and then when everything else goes to hell around the place that we just bombed, we say, well, I never could have seen that one coming. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, who would have thought? I never, well, you know what? I guess we're just going to have to keep bombing then. And we're just going to bomb everything until, I don't know, everything's dead. And then no more Iraq and Al-Qaeda, or no more Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra or whatever. Yay. No, that's not the correct thing that we should be doing. That is actually counterintuitive because you're creating more terrorists when you just do more bombing campaigns. So now to those, of course, who kind of scoff at the idea, like, oh, come on, like, I get it. I get you want to talk to people. They won't talk to each other. And, we can't really help them. We can't really mediate them. And we can't, we can't do any of that, right? Well, remember, the United States, after World War II, we took our top enemies, Japan and Germany, right? And we turned them into our top allies. You know how we helped rebuild those countries? That's how. The Marshall Plan was something that was never attempted before in the history of the world. And guess what? It was a resounding success. Germany is actually one of the most socially democratic countries in the world. Staunch U.S. ally. Strong economy. And look, maybe someday we could count Iran and Iraq as top democratic allies instead of places like Saudi Arabia, which are not democratic, which are authoritarian, which are religiously fundamentalist, and, brutal to their own people, right? Maybe we can see some of these countries and help them and become, help them become our allies instead of just places where right now we consider them to just have a bunch of brown people sitting on top of our oil. But in order to do that, we actually have to change our framing and to change how we see the Middle East. And I think, unfortunately, as long as energy companies continue to write our policies, we will not have that type of change. But we could start with the Bernie Sanders presidency. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.